What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 255 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I'm David Hain, and it's awesome to be hosting this podcast for you again. If you like it, please subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode, number 255 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast, is entitled A Restored Heart. And this is the first of two Wacky Wednesdays for today, as we're going through the chapters of the From Ashes to Destiny curriculum. This first one is the last chapter in Phase 2, which deals with heart wounds. So this is Chapter 12 of Phase 2, and the chapter is entitled The Heart in Need of Restoration, Not Rehabilitation. And I entitled this episode of the podcast, A Restored Heart. So let me start out with sort of definitions of restoration and rehabilitation and why I chose that title for the chapter in the book. I think the key for me is really if I step outside of the recovery lingo and look at other definitions. So first, there's definitions from fire research and management people, and the website is www.frames.gov. And they say the definition of restoration is an intentional activity that initiates or accelerates the recovery of an ecosystem's health, integrity, and sustainability. The definition of rehabilitation is the activities necessary to repair damage or disturbance caused by a wildfire or suppression activity. Okay, so let's look a little bit deeper into these. Again, these come from Fire Research and Management Group. So what they're saying is rehabilitation for them after a fire is to repair the damage or disturbance that the fire caused, or to suppress the fire, suppress the burning, the activity that's going on. Where restoration is an intentional activity that accelerates the recovery of the whole ecosystem's health, integrity, and sustainability. So that's what I'm looking at, really, if you see the definitions from that light. As we start recovery and as we're getting into recovery, we really have a heart in need of restoration. We need to be intentional about something that initiates and accelerates our recovery, and not just the behavior of clean and sober, not just the activity, but the whole health, integrity, and sustainability of our new life with a new restored heart. So that's where I'm coming from. Rehab would focus on getting us functioning again, behavior modification, coping skills, things like that. Restoration looks at reviving, bringing back to life, and returning to the original plan for your life. Okay, so let's get into the story that I chose from this chapter. And I chose the poem by Gregory Williams, and I think it's only fitting to use this for the last podcast from Phase 2, because we started the podcast from Chapter 1 of Phase 2 with Gregory Williams' poem, My Childhood. So this one is called The Lord's Love. The Lord's love surpasses all love you'll know. He gently placed you in the womb and lovingly watched you grow. Before you knew yourself, he patiently numbered your hair and kept his watchful eye on you to show you he really cares. He comforted you for days on end when you felt that no one else would. He held you tightly in his arms like only the true Father could. He'll never stop encouraging you to keep you going strong, not to mention the peace of mind you'll have in knowing you belong. He's looking down from heaven upon you with a smile as bright as the sun, holding a scroll with the inscription that reads, "I'm pleased, my child, well done. P.S. Inspired by God." Okay, for those of you who remember Gregory's poem of my childhood, you can see the restoration that took place in his heart as he reached this point in his recovery and got his heart healed and had a spiritual restoration. So let's look at some questions from what Gregory wrote there. Number one, he said that his higher power, he said, the Lord's love surpasses any love you know. So a question for you, have you found that love on your own? Do you have this love that surpasses anything else? Do you love yourself that way? Do you love others that way? Do you love life that way? Or are you still searching for that love that surpasses anything you know? Number two, Gregory said, before you knew yourself, he watched you grow. And again, he being God. So I want to ask you, do you know yourself? How would you describe yourself? How would you describe your heart at this point in your journey? How would you describe your core values? How are you growing as you go through the curriculum? Number three, he kept his eye on you. And I look at that from the standpoint of those miracles that happen in the midst of our addiction, where a lot of us know we shouldn't even be here. So I want to ask you, can you see the miracles that happened in your life to this point? Can you share about them? Can you talk about the miracles that happened in your active addiction and the miracles that are happening in your recovery? Number four, Gregory said, he comforted you when no one would. And I'd like you to be able to talk about that time when no one would comfort you, when the only comfort you had was your drug of choice, your high. So be able to talk about that and talk about the comfort that you now find in recovery and in your higher power. Number five, Gregory said he held you tightly. I want to ask you, do you feel that? Do you feel the strength you get, the comfort you get from your higher power, like a good hug, like a good embrace, being held tightly? Do you feel safe? Do you feel protected? Gregory did. Number six, he says he never stopped encouraging you. How many times did you want to just give up? What encouraged you? Did you have that gentle whisper in your ear, those thoughts that you didn't even know where they came from? That determination that you woke up with, but you didn't have it when you went to bed? Who encouraged you and who spoke to you in your quiet time, so to speak? Number seven, Gregory talked about the peace of mind that he got in knowing he belonged. So I'd like to ask you, do you know you belong? Have you found that peace of mind, almost like just a sigh, a positive moment, a sigh of relief, really? I found where I belong. Have you found that and found that peace that came with that? Number eight, Gregory said, he sees you and smiles. And I'm sure some of you might be thinking, how can that be true? I did so much rotten stuff. And I feel dirty and ashamed of all the things that I've done in my addiction. So how can God, how can your higher power see you and smile? Well, he's coming from a place of forgiveness and unconditional love. Have you found that forgiveness? Have you found that unconditional love? Number 9, Gregory says, he hears the words, "I am pleased, my child, well done." Wow. Only a restored heart and a restored mind can hear those words and accept them. After all we've been through, to hear, "Well done, I'm pleased with you, my child." Those are words we long to hear from our earthly family, and definite signs that restoration of our heart has taken place. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. So if you were saying, wow, that one really stirred me, then reach out, join a group, talk to your coach, your counselor, your mentor, your friends, whoever. You can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave your comments by clicking on the link they provide in that platform. Keep listening to future podcasts, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.